What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles submitted to the channel by Mgljsp, otherwise known as Arthur, who is running 3 shadow Pokemon that used to bully the Open Great League meta but are rarely seen these days. Has the meta really shifted to the point where these 3 Pokemon are barely usable, or are they secretly just as dominant as before? We're going to be finding out after we see these battles, but before we get into that, let's start with the question of the day. What's the first shadow Pokemon that comes to mind that used to be absolutely everywhere in the Great League meta, but is now nowhere to be seen? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so going into the first battle, we're leading against Machamp with a Lantern. Is this one of my alt accounts? No, of course not. Look at the team they're running. They're running Lantern and Noctower. Just a funny name that also has Toast in it. But we swap into our Shadow Granbull. I think we're going to have to use both shields if we want to maintain swap here. And honestly, I don't think it matters that much because it's not like Shadow Machamp is a super dominant matchup up against Lantern either. So I don't know if I would have used both shields there, but we're going to go for a crunch, do grab a shield back, but the opponent does end up throwing their energy just before we make it to a second charge move. We are now going to come back in with the Machamp, and they have a Trevenant in the back, and now this is pretty good for us here. We do resist everything, although a Shadow Ball will still do so much damage there. We're going to go for a Crunch just before they make it to a Seed Bomb, and Crunch does connect. It takes out the Trevenant. The opponent somehow gets off the charge move there before we get off ours. That's a real shame, and now this is going to be a race. I don't think a Surf will take us out. The opponent has to commit to a Thunderbolt. We just need one more counter to get to the second cross shop, and we do get there just in time on the CMP tie to take out that Lantern. And despite that weird not getting off a charge move there, we're still able to take that game. Into the next battle, great lead, and we are very fast to swap out to counter this defense form Deoxys with our Shadow Skuntank. They go for a Rock Slide. That's actually going to put us into range where they can fully farm us down, but not before we get to 2 crunches here. The first one grabs the shield, and we get to the second one. The opponent is going to commit to that farm down, and they do commit both shields, and we get a defense drop with that crunch there. So looking pretty good for us here, but once again, Shadow Granbull is a Pokemon that you really need to invest your shields into, and it looks like we are going to invest both of our shields once again into the Shadow Granbull. They come in with a Powder Snow, Alolan Ninetales, Shadow Alolan Ninetales. We swap and we catch a move, plus we get a counter through on the swap, so we do now make it to the cross shop in time very comfortably. We take out the Alolan Ninetales, and the opponent is going to come back in with the defense form Deoxys. We've still got enough health to get to a cross shop here, and this will just guarantee we can take out the Umbreon with a close combat. Although we're not quite there yet. Do we actually live a charge move here? It's going to be very close. We do barely hang on, and for whatever reason we go for a Crunch, and Crunch is still enough damage to take out the Umbreon there, and we do take that game. But that was certainly a stressful battle, at least for me. I don't know how it was for this trainer, but into the next battle here. Not the best lead, but the opponent comes in with their Umbreon. It's not like they didn't even check what came in. They just thought, well, Machamp counters Umbreon in the lead, so let's get rid of the Umbreon here. But unluckily for them, we come in with Shadow Granbull. The opponent also baited with a Foul Play or a Dark Pulse, and they didn't even make it to a second charge move. So Shadow Granbull has got a shield advantage and basically taken out nearly 2 Pokemon along the way. Going to come in with our Shadow Skuntank. We can tank everything here, as the name does suggest. And they go for a Dark Pulse. They come in with Swampert. We're going to go for the Crunch straight away, and then we will swap into Shadow Machamp. And we do actually grab the final shield from the opponent. I'd have liked to see us throw the cross chop straight away here, because then we could actually just come in with the Skuntank and guarantee the match. But honestly, this game is already over. We go for a cross chop, taking out the Swampert, and a cross chop will be enough damage from this range to take them out, so the opponent does concede the match. Now into the next battle, we see a Noctower in the lead. Not ideal, but honestly Machamp probably doesn't do too badly if we do have a slight energy advantage, but we do say swap into Shadow Skuntank. The opponent responds with Galarian Stunfisk. We land the Flamethrower and does so much damage, but unfortunately these poison jabs are triple resisted, so I don't think we will be able to flip this matchup, but we do force the opponent after they did bait us to throw yet another rock slide to take us out, otherwise we would have made it to a crunch. Now we barely don't get the farm down, but we do know it's just another rock slide and it is resisted by the fighting typing. We swap out instantly into our Shadow Granbull, and it looks like another matchup where we're going to invest both of our shields to maintain the alignment. They go for Sky Attack and they do make it to another Sky Attack, so once again just two shielding the Shadow Charm user. It's a tactic that I'm really not a fan of when I'm coming up against these Charmers, but I guess it does work. We go for a crunch, we get the debuff, and these Charms are chunking. I don't know why the opponent didn't throw straight away, but they go for a Psychic, so it looks like they're probably running Power Up Punch, and it means we're able to counter farm down both the Machamp and the Noctowl and take that game. And into the final battle of the first set, we're going to go for one counter, swap into our Shadow Granbull, and we are met with a Lickitung. And now this is a matchup where we're actually going to be able to get a shield advantage if we let that move go through, because we do make it to the close combat. And we do grab that shield advantage, and now at this point we should be able to come in with the Machamp and fully counter farm them down. They do get to a charge move. Will we respect it? Yes, we do. It's actually a Power Whip, which would do a little bit more than a Body Slam. They come back in with Deoxys. We're tapping on that switch, but unfortunately the timer wasn't quite up, and now they come in with an Umbreon. We might actually be able to win this here. We unfortunately don't have any shields remaining, but they go for a last resort. Unfortunately, I don't think we will live a second last resort here. We go for the flamethrower. We barely make it to a crunch in time. Is the opponent gonna use a shield here? We really need them to. They don't use a shield, and that is not very good for us here. The opponent going to go for a charge move. They actually go for the foul play, allowing us to get the farm down. And now we can go for a rock slide. We really need them to let the first move go through. They do let it go through. We now get to a cross chop. I think that might be a CMP tie. We grab a shield, and it is. That's perfect. They're actually going to debuff their attack. Maybe we get to a crunch here. No, unfortunately we don't get there, but we did play that fairly well there. Unfortunately, just not quite able to get to that last second crunch to take out the Deoxys. But into the next battle, we see an excellent lead leading into Bastiodon. The opponent swaps into Cofagrigus, and we're going to come in with our Shadow Skuntank. And the opponent did bait with a Dark Pulse. All the moves are resisted, but Shadow Ball would do significantly more as it's more energy, deals more damage normally, and it's also stab. But here we're going to go for the crunch after over farming quite significantly. Does the opponent want to use both their shields? Yes, they do. And I think, are we going to use both our shields here to guarantee that alignment? No, we're actually going to let the Skuntank go down, come in with Shadow Granbull, get the Charm farm down, and the opponent comes back in with Bastiodon. We're choosing not to swap out straight away. Eventually we swap out here. They come in with a Sableye, and I think we should still be able to win this game. We go for the Rock Slide, and that is going to put them into range where we can just counter farm them down. But no, we're actually going to let this move go through, and we're going to let them farm us down. Come in with our Granbull, get the farm down, come out with a close combat loaded. I do also very much like this play. We get to the close combat, taking out the Bastiodon, and we take that game. Into the next battle, another great lead into Dunsparce. The opponent swaps into Machamp. We come in with our Shadow Granbull. I think we probably do have to respect the damage from a Psychic, and we do shield it up, but we can get the full farm down, and we should be able to grab that shield back anyways. Gonna over farm, and it looks like a CMP tie. We go for the close combat, grabbing the shield, and also because we go for close combat, this charge move will definitely take us out, so they don't get any extra farm, and I do like that play. We're now going to go straight for a cross chop, no messing around here, grabbing the final shield from the opponent. They come in with a Azumarill. We are just hard countering this opponent, but we don't have any super effective charge moves, actually only resisted charge moves to throw. They go for a Play Rough that actually did so much damage. We're now going to go for a Crunch. Crunch is resisted, but it puts them into range where we can counter, farm them down, and now this is going to be game over. Nothing they can throw can take us out, but we will respect the damage anyway, get to a Cross Chop, and we will undercharge it for the BM, and Cross Chop still takes out the Dunsparce, and we take that game. Into the next game, and I think that trainer name was Pseudo-Wudo coulda or shoulda, something like that. I'm not sure, but it was pretty fast, but a pretty nice play on words there. The opponent going to come in with Machamp, and we are going to go for a crunch. They are just running Power Up Punch, or as it says in, I think this is French, Point Boost. It's quite funny. But yeah, they're able to counter us down after going for another Power Up Punch. But that's fine, we can come in with our Shadow Granbull, go for the Charm Farm Down. They do make it to our last second Power Up Punch, but this is fine. Even double boosted, that does nothing. They have a Nidoqueen though, so that is not good for us here. So we are going to shield up. No, we're going to let the charge move go through, but then they swap into Umbreon. What? Why would you do that? You could have just Poison Jab, farmed us all the way down, but this is giving us a potential win condition here. We're now going to shield this up, and we should be able to go for a full counter farm down, coming out with so much energy. Going to go straight for that cross chop. We should be able to get off the second cross chop here, and we do get it off, and this might put them into range where we can farm them down. They also choose not to shield, but no, they're still able to Poison Jab, farm us down, and even though it looked like they were giving us a lifeline there, the opponent was still able to take that game. Nidoqueen just a little bit too strong for this team. You don't really see it very often anymore, but I mean, it is still very good. Just nowhere near as good in those sort of neutral matchups. But yeah, when we had two Pokemon that could only deal resisted damage, it was never going to end well. But here we are able to grab a shield from this Registeel. I'm not really sure about going for Crunch there, because obviously, if we go for a close combat, we're going to debuff our defense. Lock-ons weren't doing any damage anyway, and they do one-shot us with any charge move, so it didn't really make too much of a difference there. But we're going to go for a Rock Slide here into the Azumarill, and a second Rock Slide might actually take them out from this range, so we are going to shield the Ice Beam, swap into our Skuntank. They respond with an Altaria, and this Crunch will do some nice damage, but I don't think we're going to be able to farm them down here. And the opponent is going to go for a charge move, but we might be able to counter farm down the Altaria. It's going to be very close. I think that's the only win condition here. We don't go for the farm down here. We go for a cross chop. We take out the Altaria, and now we need to bait them and hope that we can still outpace this Azumarill. We get the shield, but they do get to a final charge move just before we make it to the Rock Slide. I don't think Cross Chop would quite have taken them out there, so we do unfortunately lose that game. And into the final battle, we lead into an Obstagoon. Great lead, but once again, a Poison type that we don't really have an answer for. So we're going to go for that Rock Slide. It does some decent damage actually, considering it is just neutral. Now we come in with our Skuntank. The opponent goes for a Brine. It doesn't do that much damage, but a second one will pretty much threaten our health from this range. So we go for a Crunch, grabbing a shield, getting a debuff. And we're actually going to let the Brine go through. They will now be able to fully farm us down. Not sure about that, but I think they were still ahead on energy, so let's see. We're going to go for the Cross Chop, and it looks like another CMP tie. And Cross Chop from this range does take them out, but they've got a Tentacruel in the back, and that is awful. So running double Poison Water here. Going to go for that Rock Slide and hope they're in range for us to Charm, fall them down, but I don't think they are, and they're now just probably going to go for Acid Spray. And no, they actually go for Scald, so maybe not running Acid Spray, but we should now be able to get the Charm, farm down up against the Obstagoon, and we still end up taking that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. As you can see, this team does still have a lot of play up against the Open Great League meta, and despite the fact that we saw a Nidoqueen in these battles, Nidoqueen is a lot less common now after the Poison Fang nerf, so I actually think this trio in particular might be even stronger than it used to be, although one of the big things that I did notice is that after the Charm nerf, there were quite a few matchups where we weren't quite able to Charm farm them down before they get to 2 charge moves, so having to invest both shields very early on with our Shadow Charmer is not ideal when the rest of the team is also quite glassy. But aside from that, still performed fairly well. If you did enjoy the battles, make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And as for my answer, I'm going to go with Shadow Hypno. Used to be super strong, and I did see a feature on Jamie Finn's channel very recently with Shadow Hypno running the Legacy, Psyshock and Focus Blast, the combination that I love to run, but Generally speaking, you really don't see Hypno very much in the Open Great League anymore, unfortunately. If you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.